Ahead of the hour here on this Tuesday morning, 43 degrees under partly cloudy skies in Clinton here this morning.
Local information that makes a difference. Here's your regional weather.
On this Tuesday, sunny skies with a high of 60 degrees. A southwest wind shifts from the northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour this afternoon. Clear skies tonight. Temperatures in the lower to mid 30s. A northwest wind calm after midnight. Sunny Wednesday, temperatures in the lower to mid 60s. A southwest wind at 15 to 25 miles an hour. Partly cloudy Wednesday night, a low near 30. Thursday, cloudy, temperatures of 40 degrees, a northeast wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Friday, cloudy, temperatures in the lower to mid 50s with southeast winds at 15 to 25 miles per hour on Friday as well. And I mentioned earlier, took a sneak peek at that weekend weather forecast. Things are shaping up nicely. Cloudy but breezy on Saturday. Temperatures in the mid 60s and a chance of rain on Sunday. Otherwise, partly sunny and a high of 60 degrees as well. So hopefully that forecast does not change a whole bunch as we get closer to the weekend. Right now, partly cloudy skies in Clinton, 46 degrees in Bloomington, 44 in Hayworth, 42 in Leroy, 44 in Farmer City, 40 in Champaign, 46 in Monticello, right now 48 in Decatur, 44 in Lincoln, 52 degrees in Springfield, and 47 in Peoria, 43 under partly cloudy skies in Clinton at this time. Southwest winds are calm, 66% humidity, 10 miles of visibility on this Tuesday. Weather anytime is at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your own home without the maintenance. If you're 55 or better, a beautiful Liberty Village villa could be yours. This is Erin, and I invite you to come take a tour of our move-in ready villa. Click the Liberty Village icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Simply the finest.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Dunker Electric Supply and Lighting Center in Decatur reminds you that no matter what's happening around the globe, the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces serve and sacrifice. They even put their lives on the line for us. Please take a moment to say thank you to a veteran and consider supporting those serving overseas by sending a care package. This message is from Dunker Electric Supply and Lighting Center in Decatur. Visit online at dunkerelectric.com. We are free thanks to the brave.
It takes balance to be successful in farming because what you get out of it depends on what you put in. And Corteva Agriscience gets that. Introducing Nutritia N Nutrient Efficiency Optimizer, a biological product that naturally captures nitrogen from the air. It's a sustainable way to add balance to your traditional nitrogen methods and maximize your yield potential. Embrace a balanced approach to nitrogen management this season by visiting corteva.us.
Kreckles West in Decatur and Kreckles in Mount Zion remind listeners it's easy to take our lives for granted. Simple pleasures like a good book, a bit of music, or even a pair of warm socks can bring great comfort to our soldiers overseas. Call your local veterans organization or search online for information on how you can help. This message is from Kreckles West in Decatur and Kreckles in Mount Zion. A Central Illinois tradition since 1949. Enjoy great food without a long wait. Visit CracklesWest.com.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and I've got a trio of visitors with us on the morning show today. Before we get to them, let's mention that the morning show streams live to Facebook and YouTube, and it's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. In studio with us, we've got Joey Long, who is the director of the DeWitt County Museum. And several months ago, Joey and Mr. John Warner and Denis Hambucken joined us to talk about their upcoming exhibit this summer, Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County. And John, if you don't mind, sir, just for the listeners out there, viewers out there, remind us what this exhibit is going to be all about.
This is a special limited run exhibit that will take place only during the month of June next summer, all about the aviation history right here in DeWitt County. And this is a remarkable history that not everyone knows. There are remarkable people quietly living their lives here in the county who have been involved in all sides of aviation. And these are just not stories that are commonly told. And we felt this is a very important part of the county's history, needs to be preserved, needs to be shared with the public.
Sure. Joey, if you don't mind, give us an update on how this project is going from your perspective and where we stand with things.
Well, it's actually pretty amazing. In the very beginning, what we had was, Denis and John bringing their idea and their vision. You see things on paper, you hear it described, but we've made so much progress now with the stories we've collected and the artifacts and the clothing. A large portion of this revolves around mannequins that Denis has set up and dressed, and those are coming to life. So it's gone from an idea to sketches, and now you can actually step into the studio where Denis is working on this exhibit and see what his vision is and where this is going. And it's just amazing that we've been able to take all these parts from Denis's vision and John's ideas, and then stories and artifacts that have come in from all of these people that have been kind enough to loan these things or share these things with us. And it's just really coming together now. It's amazing.
What do you think of some of the things you've gotten? What stands out to you amongst some of the artifacts and the stories and all of those things?
Well, I would say one thing that comes to mind is we have a Vietnam helicopter pilot's complete outfit. So the shirt that he wore in Vietnam, the pants, the cap, the helmet with all of the gear still on it, his name tag is still there, his name patch, his jacket, even his grungy gloves. And when I was tagging these things, because we have to tag everything, these things are loaned, we need to get them back to the right people. I noticed that the lining in the jacket was orange, and I noticed that on those gloves they also had that orange, which tells me he had spent time with his hands in his pocket. And Denis took this and put it onto a mannequin, and it just looked so realistic, the way that his eye for dressing it, posing it and whatnot. And then something did come in yesterday that I thought was quite interesting. We had a pilot from DeWitt County. His name was Lee Gelbaugh, and he was a test pilot during the 30s and also raced airplanes. And back in those days, these aviators were like rock stars. They had celebrity value. And he was used often by Camel cigarettes to be the celebrity face of Camel cigarettes. Well, they explain, Seth. It tells you right in the ad. Obviously, an aviator needs to smoke because it improves your health. It kills your hunger. It makes you think clearly. I just was tickled by that ad.
That is interesting. Denis, what do you have envisioned for this? I mean, this is nothing new for you. So what do you foresee this looking like? Has your outlook changed since you put since your proposition a few months ago? How about some of those things?
Well, it's exceeded my expectations, frankly, and we're doing our best to make this exhibit as immersive, as vivid as possible. And I think the first thing that will be striking to visitors, we're going to have probably 11 or 10 head-to-toe mannequins dressed with period artifacts, World War II, early aviators, Vietnam, modern-day National Guards, Air Force pilots, etc. And we're dressing and curating these in excruciating details, down to pen sticking out of a pocket, a pack of cigarette coming out of an aviator's vest, things like that.
Yeah, and you're a real history buff from what I understand, so this is kind of right up your alley.
Right up my alley. Somebody was saying, well, you guys are playing with life-size G.I. Joes in there. And I guess that's true.
Sure is. Now, talk to me a little bit about your work in getting all the material, all of the artifacts, all of the stories down to, it's not a small space. We were talking about that before we got started, but, relative to how much you have to put out there, it's a small space. So how do you narrow down and how do you decide what to put out there for folks?
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. We have, for example, for the mannequins, it's like anything. The first 95% are fairly easy to put together. You have a vest, pants, and a helmet. But then it's the details that come up. What shirt, what kind of tie do we put in there? Do they have microphones and the gloves and things like that? So it's a great deal of researching, trying to find leads, and even buying things on eBay when we have to.
Oh, really?
And then there's also the flood of artifacts, trying to tear them down. We want top quality artifacts. We're looking for a very evocative object.
Yeah. Well, and I had a veteran in here for a different project. I had Jeff Morlock in, and he had a veteran in to talk about his experience in Vietnam. And we sat and talked for probably 30-40 minutes, and that was just his story. And you've probably got many of these people that have these, you could sit with them for an hour, maybe two, and hear all the things they have to say. How do you narrow down what you tell out of those stories and whose stories you tell?
Well, right there at the exhibit, there'll be little placards with little photos and a little short bio of the people that we're featuring. But again, there's a QR code in there, and people with a smartphone can it'll take them to a website where they can have long stories, photographs, in some cases audio or video recordings. So you can read as much or as little as you want about these people.
I see.
We envision a booklet that will be part of the visitor's experience, sort of a souvenir of the show. And the booklet will detail each mannequin and include some of that narrative of their oral histories and so forth. Now, we're gathering so much good quality history that we are also anticipating later in the summer, July, August, actually coming out, publishing a book that will assemble everything that we've gathered. So visitors will immediately see the booklet and immediate stories, and that will follow up with a larger volume that presents everything.
I look forward to the literature, because I feel like we're going to get such a snapshot of what has been given to you folks, and I feel like the literature is only going to expand on that. So really looking forward to those things. Yeah, those things for sure. Again, our guest in studio this morning, Joey Long, is the director of the DeWitt County Museum, and we're talking with John Warner and Denis Hambucken about the Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County. It's a special exhibit coming to the DeWitt County Museum this summer. From John, did you want to put the dates out there?
Yes, the exhibit will open May 28th. We're going to have a big kickoff, and stay tuned because some of those details will be exciting. May 28th to July 3rd. So we're already saying to people, mark your calendars.
Definitely.
This is the opportunity. You don't want to miss it.
Sure. And there's going to be lots of corresponding events with this. Denis, John, do you guys want to weigh in on what some of those things are going to look like?
It's really going to be a month-long celebration of flying in DeWitt County. We're going to have speakers, weekly speaker events. We're going to have on weekends, we're going to bring some various events to the public.
We're anticipating some book signing events. One of our participants was an aviator in Vietnam, and he's actually written a book of his experiences while flying in Southeast Asia. He will be there autographing his books as the public purchases them.
Sure,
So
that's great.
Those are the sorts of
It's
events.
too early to go into details, but we're going to have some really spectacular events.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I don't want to dive into, again, specific events, but I feel like a panel discussion with maybe some of the folks you've talked to, I don't know, experts on, some of the experiences these guys had and how maybe they impacted aviation or perhaps the conflict that they were involved in, how their experience impacted those things at a greater level. I mean, there's just so many things you could dive into with this. You know what I mean?
Yes. And we're talking about, we're putting together a panel of, for example, flyers who flew in Vietnam, so that we can have an evening session with the public and let them tell their stories and answer questions of the public. We're also sometimes you just get into history.
Mhm.
Hooterville Airport, where I live, traces its origins back to Red Irwin and flying in the 1920s. Well, there's a story there.
Mhm.
And that's going to be one more thing we try to present in some of these little details. Oh, this little airport outside of Hallsville has lots and lots of history. Let us tell you about it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as I look at the clock, friends, we could use a timeout. Joey, do you mind throwing out the best way for folks to learn more about this exhibit? And I know you are still looking for more artifacts and stories and things of that nature. Do you mind putting that information out on how folks can participate even further? How about that?
Sure. So they're welcome to send an email to me at the museum. That email address is chmore.homestead@gmail.com. They can also send a message to our Facebook page, either the DeWitt County Museum Facebook page, or we do have a special Facebook page dedicated to this exhibit. So you can find that under Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County.
Fantastic. Again, that's Joey Long, director of the DeWitt County Museum, along with John Warner and Denis Hambucken. We're talking about, as Joey just mentioned, their upcoming exhibit in June, Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County. And we'll talk more about that on the way on the morning show, which again streams live to Facebook and YouTube, and it's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. The morning show resumes next on WHOW.
Let's check the opening markets now on the RFD Radio Network on this Tuesday. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all starting the day double-digit higher. March corn 7.30 up 32.5. May corn up 31, 7.21 3/4. December corn 6.27 3/4 up 20.5. March beans starting the day up 62, 17.06 1/4. May beans 16.92 up 55 1/4, and November beans 14.79 1/4 up 43.5. March wheat up 49, 9.77. May wheat up 48 3/4, 9.82 3/4, and a strong start for July wheat today, 9.60 1/4 up 43 1/4. March bean meal up 10.70, 465.60, and March bean oil up 3.93, 76.82. That's a look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday morning. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
New trucks and SUVs are coming here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. This is Scott Baum. Yes, we have new inventory arriving, and you can see what will arrive right on our website. Just click on the pre-order and reserve tab. From there, you will find vehicles in transit and vehicles in production. Or just call our sales staff and we'll help. Find Silverados, Equinoxes, Blazers, including Tahoes and Suburbans, as well as our complete Buick line of SUVs. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless has an immediate opening. They're looking for a full-time internet installer to perform the initial setup of wireless internet and voice over IP services, as well as troubleshoot and repair wireless and phone services for customers. You'll be responsible for the basic installation and maintenance of wireless equipment. No experience necessary. Includes health benefits, mileage reimbursed. Starting pay is $15 an hour. Find out more and apply by going to mrsystemswireless.com, then clicking About, then Employment. Equal opportunity employer.
This is the morning show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. And again, in studio with us today, we've got Joey Long, director of the DeWitt County Museum, and she's joined by John Warner and Denis Hambucken. And we're talking about their upcoming exhibit in June, Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County. And John, we were talking before we got started and a little bit further in the break there about this is just an effort to support the DeWitt County Museum, trying to minimize all the costs for them and everything going back to them.
Absolutely. We're doing this on a volunteer basis. We're not being paid. It never entered our minds that we should ask to be paid. We are trying to elevate the museum's position, and we are looking for sponsorships, trying to direct more income into the museum, trying to encourage the public that if you like what you're seeing, if you enjoy having this museum in your neighborhood, please step up and help to underwrite the costs of doing this remarkable exhibit.
How do folks do that? Can businesses step up in those things?
Businesses can step up. We'll be happy to talk with businesses in the area about underwriting support. We will be advertising their support. We're happy to say that Sessions Electric is one of our underwriters. Peterson Insurance, one of our underwriters. They are first-rate businesses, and they are associating themselves with a first-rate program, and we'd like to extend that opportunity to other good businesses in the area.
Sure. Denis, talk about that from your perspective, what it means to do this for the museum. How about that?
Yeah, well, it's also something of an experiment. We're really set out to demonstrate that a relatively small town like Clinton can put together a world-class exhibit. And we hope that there'll be many more to come.
So what is that from your perspective, if this is successful, which I just really cannot see this not being successful, what would that mean for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, for someone like me with a deep interest in history and aviation in particular, it's really a labor of love.
Yeah.
And to see the response we already get is just reward enough, I would say.
Sure. Do you mind if I ask? I don't know what your history is in visiting Clinton. I mean, being friends with John here, I venture a guess you've probably been here before. Are you surprised at the response, the stories, the people that have the experiences? Are you surprised by any of this? And I don't mean to kind of put you on the spot there, but I've just been wondering about that a little bit.
I used to live in Illinois, so I have roots here.
Okay.
I love this part of the country. But yes, I have been surprised. In fact, we hope that people will be intrigued when they drive by the museum. They see that big banner on there, because you wouldn't necessarily think that Clinton has such a rich history of aviation, but it really does.
And the veterans here, and I know, John, you talk about all the facets and the angles of aviation, but the veterans here, they have some amazing things to tell people.
Remarkable stories, remarkable experiences.
Absolutely.
This was, Seth, this grew out of my getting my pilot's license 35 years ago. And then being introduced to people in the county who had been in one way or another a part of aviation. And I was saying to Joey and to Denis, you're not going to believe this, but there's a whole lot of aviation history just quietly under the surface right around here. And I think in that regard, both have been surprised that, yes, there truly is just a wealth of fascinating stories.
Sure. Joey, I asked you this earlier, and I apologize. I never got your complete answer on it, so I'll ask it to you here. What is the response you're getting from folks, whether digitally through like Facebook and things like that, when you're out in the community, about who is excited about this and where they're going to come from to see it? Do you mind speaking to that at all?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people, you just go to the grocery store, run to the post office, and people will stop me and say, oh my gosh, I've heard about this. What a wonderful thing the museum is doing. And I would say it's people from all walks of life, but it also goes beyond DeWitt County. I had a friend of mine who lives in Bloomington and has been in, the museum circle up in Bloomington for many, many years. And she called yesterday and said, oh my goodness, what a wonderful project you're putting together, and how marvelous, that a museum the size of the DeWitt County Museum is going to put together such an extraordinary exhibit.
Right.
So all kinds of people, all sorts of excitement for all different reasons. And it's been wonderful.
I just can't wait to hear about how it goes over. I mean, I just think it's going to be fantastic. I really do. So
thank you.
We're starting to hear from people all over the country who have some sort of family relationship here in DeWitt County, who are saying, we're planning our summer vacations to come back to Clinton to be here during the month of June to see this exhibit.
Yeah.
And this is people from Colorado, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the East Coast. This is drawing people from all over the nation.
And I know that this probably isn't, this is about the museum, and I'm not trying to make it about anything else, but going to be such an economic boom for the community, I feel like.
Absolutely. As all these people come to visit, well, that's good for all the local restaurants. that's good for all of the local businesses. That's good for all of the area retailers. The more people we have coming through the community, the better for everybody.
For sure. John, do you mind one more time throwing out when this exhibit is going to open, how long folks can see it, all of those things?
This is an absolute save the date. We open on May 28th. We will be running until July 3rd. And really, this is see it now, because after July 3rd, it will close, and the special one will be behind us.
Sure. Well, Joey, and how do folks follow along digitally on, say, social media, the World Wide Web? How about those things real quick?
They can.
That poor
I have
microphone.
trouble here.
That's all right.
They can visit our Facebook page, the one that's dedicated to this exhibit. So that would be Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County. They can go to our website, www.chmorehomestead.org. They can stop by the museum or give me a call, 217-935-6066. Happy to fill people in on what's going on.
Great job, guys, and thank you so much for your time as always. Again, Joey Long, John Warner, Denis Hambucken, Prairie Flyers, a Century of Aviation in DeWitt County. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM,